Good morning, Alex.
For the Director of Finance, Ms. Peralt.
Present.
Mr. Tang.
Present.
Ms. Yamamoto.
Here.
Ms. Hendricks.
Here.
Mr. Gunning.
Here.
For the State Treasurer, Mr. Rufino.
Present.
For the Superintendent of Public Instruction, Mr. Dolomini.
Present.
Mr. Juarez.
Here.
Chair Keeley, you have a quorum?
Thank you. And Alex, do you have something to read into?
Yeah, I have a quick
Thank you,
statement
sir.
before we get started. The CalSTRS board meetings are live web streamed, video archived and available to the public on calstrs.com. Individuals who wish to address the board should wait for the 10-minute public comment period at the end of the agenda item the speaker wishes to address. For comments not pertaining to a specific agenda item, there will be an opportunity for additional statements at the end of the open session. Each speaker is allowed a maximum of 3 minutes to comment. However, if there's not enough time for each speaker to have 3 minutes, the timing will be at the discretion of the chair. Please be advised, while criticism is protected, abusive language or other disruptive behavior that goes beyond protected speech and impedes the meeting's progress may result in the termination of further comment and/or removal if the behavior continues. To protect the privacy of speakers under the age of 18 who wish to address the board, only their first name and affiliated organization may be provided, but other personal identifying information such as their last name, age, or school may not be shared. Since the November Teachers Retirement Board meeting, CalSTRS received 242 forum emails, 4 emails, and 1 petition from members and non-members requesting CalSTRS divest from Tesla, 58 forum emails, 14 emails from members and non-members urging CalSTRS to divest from Caterpillar Inc., Elbit Systems, Lockheed Martin, Palantir Technologies, and as well as Israeli banks and bonds, 1 email from a member rejecting any proposal, resolution, or discussion lending legitimacy to the boycott, divestment, and sanctions BDS movement. That's all.
Thank you, Alex. Entertain a motion to approve the agenda with some flexibility this morning.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and properly second.
Just want to point out that Ms. Bradford's here also.
Yeah, they got it. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Without objection, the agenda has been approved with some flexibility. We have open session this morning, and we go to closed session. We have about an hour scheduled for lunch today. That we may truncate that and go to 45 minutes. With that, we'll go to public comments. And how many public comments do we have this morning?
We have enough that we're going to be at 1 minute right now.
Okay.
That's okay.
That's-
We'll start in person. So if we could have Ralph followed by Edward.
They're on the phone.
Are the members of, there, can we start with the,
I apologize.
That-
I'm reading off the wrong list.
that's okay, you're doing
We're going to
great.
start with Tom, followed by Ruth.
Thank you.
Thank you for this opportunity. Tom Pattison, physician, California taxpayer, and investment advisor. Tesla's latest earnings make it clear the company is no longer a high-growth success story. It's a deteriorating auto business, increasingly popped up by speculative future promises. For the first time, Tesla revenue declined, and its lost its global leadership to Chinese competition. The core products are aging. Demand is weakening. Profitability is collapsing. Net income dropped 46% year over year. Margins deteriorate. This is a clear sign of the weakening core business. Rather than address these problems, management is dramatically increasing spending on high-risk AI and robot projects, pushing capital expenditures above $20 billion in 2026, while free cash flow is expected to turn negative. At this time, shareholders are being hit with unprecedented dilution. The restated 2018 compensation package worth approximately $25 billion, and the
Thank you for your comment.
is absurd. Sell Tesla.
Our next speaker will be Ruth, followed by Susan.
Good morning. I'm Ruth Rudetsky, retired math teacher and CalSTRS member from San Francisco, here again. Here is a sampling of recent Tesla headlines from Electrek, the largest EV news site known for its extensive, generally positive coverage of Tesla. January 28th, Tesla's unsupervised robotaxis vanish a week after pre-earnings announcement. January 26th, Tesla loses another manufacturing director as Exodus continues. January 23rd, it's time to start recommending some Tesla Powerwall alternatives. January 8th, Congressman claims Tesla design killed at least 15. Lest you think I was cherry picking, out of the first 30 articles I found in a search for Tesla, 15 were unequivocally negative, and only 5 could generously be considered positive. Please, don't be a slave to the index in these extraordinary times. Dump Tesla before its Enron moment.
Thank you for your comment. Our next speaker will be Susan, followed by Anna.
Hi, I'm Susan McCarthy. I live in San Francisco. So, an immigrant, an egomaniac, and a drama queen walk into a bar. Bartender says, "What can I get you, Mr. Musk?" I'm here to ask that CalSTRS divest from Tesla because its CEO is hurting the company, which speaks to your fiduciary duty. You heard how many Elon Musks it takes to change a light bulb? 2, one to hold the light bulb and one to take so much ketamine that the room goes round and round. You know, some people might think his life sounds like fun. There was this kid told his mother, "Mom, when I grow up, I want to be Elon Musk." And she had to tell him, "Honey, you can't do both." Musk also owns SpaceX. Say, why do billionaires want to go to space so badly? Because guillotines need gravity to operate. Elon Musk is not a predictable, ordinary CEO. As a result, the corporation doesn't follow a predictable course. As a result of that, it's an unpredictable financial risk. Please consider divestment.
Thank you for your comment. Our next speaker will be Anna, followed by Jennifer.
Hi, I'm Anna Fazio. I work as a peace officer for over 30 years with CalSTRS, and I have been a retiree for 18 years. I question why Elon Musk spent over $250 million supporting Donald Trump's 2024 election campaign. It became apparent there was a quid pro quo with Trump's appointment of Musk to lead DOGE, which slashed government programs, jobs, and agencies investigating Musk. This corruption is in plain sight. The Departments of Labor, Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, Department of Transportation, Environmental Protection Agency, all had cases against Musk. Trump fired each of the inspector generals, so there were no more investigations, no more reporting on Musk activities. We need to hold Musk accountable for his corrupt and criminal, unethical behavior. Why continue investing in a product that isn't safe, or an individual who proudly does a Nazi salute?
Thank you for your comment. Our next speaker will be Jennifer, followed by Doug.
Good morning. My name is Jennifer Odell from the Laborers International Union of North America. I'd like to tell you a little bit about a situation we're facing in New York City with Apollo. Some developers in the New York City residential market are experimenting with allowing the use of body shop labor brokers on their projects. Developers allow general contractors to use body shops to offload the reputational and regulatory risks of worker exploitation while profiting from the low wages. Body shop workers are paid near minimum wage, while the body shop contractor gets paid about $48 an hour for each worker. Apex Labor Solutions is one such body shop that Athene is allowing at 5 Times Square to undermine labor standards. Apollo's merger with Athene hides Apollo's links to body shop worker exploitation. It's important that Apollo and all its affiliates and contractors uphold worker rights, transparency, and good governance principles that protect workers and investors alike. Our irresponsible subcontracting to body shop can cause reputational risk, costly work delays, and legal battles. We urge CalSTRS to adopt real labor standards. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Our next speaker will be Doug, followed by Courtney.
Hi, my name is Doug Orr. I'm not speaking for any particular organization. I'm just speaking for myself as a semi-retired economics professor. Mark Rowan, CEO of Apollo Global Management, is one of the architects and major funders of the Compact for Academic Excellence in Higher Education, which is President Trump's attack on higher education in the United States. Under the threat of withholding billions of dollars of federal funding, the compact, among other things, requires colleges and universities to eliminate entire departments and programs in areas of study that Trump considers woke. The compact will potentially cause thousands of faculty members to lose their jobs as their programs get eliminated. Many of those faculty members work in California community college system and are members of CalSTRS. If they lose their jobs, they and their employers will no longer contribute to the CalSTRS pension fund. This creates a clear material risk to the pension fund reaching its goal of full funding by 2046. CalSTRS should
Thank you
not
for
be
your
in a limited
comment.
partnership with this outside manager.
Thank you for your comment. Our next speaker will be Courtney, followed by Ricardo.
Good morning, Chair and committee members. My name is Courtney Alexander, and I work at the United Food and Commercial Workers Union. You've heard from grocery workers about how Apollo is creating labor risks to your investment in Fund 9 at Heritage Grocers. Today, we're joining other unions who are bringing Apollo portfolio companies forward as examples for why CalSTRS should adopt labor principles at private equity investments. And together, we urge you not to make new commitments to Apollo funds until these risks are resolved. And I also want to echo what the gentleman said before. There's another way that Apollo is working against its fiduciary duty to CalSTRS and the state of California. Apollo's chair and CEO, Mark Rowan, is leading the effort to cut federal grant funding for universities across the country and in California. They don't adhere to a specific political and educational ideology. Apollo's Rowan was the main author and central force behind the administration's compact for academic excellence in higher education. This is a fiduciary duty for conflict, a fiduciary conflict for CalSTRS,
Thank you for your comment.
participants, and the members.
Our next speaker will be Ricardo, followed by Alyssa.
Good morning, my name is Ricardo. I am working for a Cardinal Market in store 42. And the company investigating Cardinal Market owner the Apoyo. We are working Cardinals and 7 years of working. And a bakery manager and different Riverside store, included the hand, working a requirement, usually when return and the demo regular. Clay clustering and paying the star shorts store rare fountain. A new month ago, I working and filling bread and all the machine stock. And feel the daisy and the fall on the manager attached to send it to the doctor. Only the hard work and the rest is just you the shift is end to the month that you pay. I'm sleeping before I finally pay a contact lawyer and help me get the disability. I am working for the worker because I with union in private safety and a store company at Trovo to union 4 years and captain of the meeting out to the forum and intimidated. Thank you so
for
much.
your comment. Our next speaker will be Alyssa, followed by Linda.
I'll just leave it alone. Okay, can you hear me all right? Alyssa Giacchino with the Private Equity Stakeholder Project. 48% of CalSTRS portfolio is invested in private markets as reported today, compared to a national average for public pensions of around 31%. Sustained headwinds are straining the private equity industry. The New York Times reported PE is losing its luster with mediocre returns and an unprecedented backlog of at least 31,000 unsold companies valued at $3.7 trillion, which has gotten even worse since 2024's record. There are signs public pension funds are retreating, with nearly 1 in 3 cutting back their PE allocations in 2025, according to PEI. The Alaska Permanent Fund staff believes that private equity's golden era is over. Quote, if the expected future returns are not adequately higher for private equity, the rationale for taking on higher risks, illiquid, levered, idiosyncratic, high fees may have eroded, staff said. The PE industry's challenges are compounded by the continuous mismanagement of the labor force powering their portfolio companies. Please adopt workforce management principles as $1 trillion worth of assets pension funds have already done.
Thank you for your comment. Our next speaker will be Linda, followed by Emma.
Hello, members of the board. My name is Linda. I'm entering my 24th year I'm in the middle of my 24th year as a California community college educator. CalSTRS Divest, which I'm a member of, met with some of your investment staff last week, and I want to ask you a question that they couldn't answer. What will it take for CalSTRS to act as if it has a functioning moral compass? We showed you financial risk, you ignored it. We showed you ESG violations, you dismissed them. We showed you contradictions in your staff's explanations, you looked away. We showed you that every ratings agency warns that war erodes Israel's creditworthiness. Your staff pretended not to hear it. And when we finally turned to the moral dimension, the human cost, the suffering, the undeniable reality of an ongoing war, we were told divestment would be too costly. And then moments later that the future is unpredictable. The story changed again because it seems the goal wasn't truth, it was deflection. So let me be blunt. If your ESG policy can't stop you
Thank
from
you for your
investing
comment.
in war, we don't know what it's worth.
Thank you for your comment. Our next speaker will be Emma, followed by Melinda.
Hi, members of the board. I'm Emma. I'm also a member of CalSTRS Divest. I'm a recent graduate of Berkeley High, and I want to become a California teacher. But the board's continued disrespect of ESG policy might make me reconsider. I want to become a teacher because I value human rights. But this board would invest my paychecks, 10% of my paychecks, in what the UN Commission of Inquiry has labeled genocide, which is pretty risky, investing in genocide. I can't think of many more risky things for a board that plans to exist for many, many years. So I don't think I want to be a teacher in California anymore. I am seriously doubting it because y'all don't respect human rights. Nor do you respect civil liberties. You invest in companies like Palantir, which spy on Americans, which spy on people throughout the world, which let people be killed. So I'm not sure I want to be a teacher in a state that doesn't value
Thank you for your
civil
comment.
liberties. You're going to lose
Thank
a
you for your
generation.
comment. Our next speaker will be Melinda, followed by Lori.
Good morning. My name's Melinda Starr, and I'm a retired elementary school teacher, and I am outraged that my pension is invested in weapons manufacturers. This seems to fly in the face of your ESG policy, which claims that when making investments, CalSTRS considers whether or not a company or industry makes a product which is highly detrimental to human health. You are invested in several companies that fit this description. Two of the weapons companies that CalSTRS is invested in are Lockheed Martin and Elbit Systems. CalSTRS has over $163 million invested in Lockheed Martin, which makes the F-35 Lightning the primary aircraft used by Israel to conduct airstrikes in Gaza. CalSTRS also has over $16 million invested in Elbit Systems, an Israeli weapons manufacturer, which makes the drones that surveil and target Palestinians. These two companies...
Thank you for your comment. Our next speaker will be Lori, followed by Forrest.
My name is Lori Wager. I'm a retired teacher, union member, Jewish American, and a member of CalSTRS Divest. We're here today to hold you accountable to those you serve and to your own environmental, social injustice, and government policies. Your ESG policies demand respect for cultural values and ethnic identities, tells you to steer clear of companies that dispossess or degrade people's lands or property rights and that operate in countries that don't allow their citizens the right to vote. Yet your investment choices enable these very abuses. These investments disrespect, dispossess, degrade, and dehumanize. To date, at minimum, 72,000 Palestinians have died in Gaza, 70% of whom are women and children, have been killed, and over 171,000 others wounded. An estimated 70% of the buildings, homes, schools, hospitals in Gaza have been destroyed, leaving 53 million tons of debris in their place.
Thank you for your comment. Thank you for your comment. Our next speaker will be Forrest, followed by Candace.
I'm going to wait. Thank you. I'm a middle school teacher, world history, Jewish person. The CalSTRS website touts a lot of environmental things. Like it says that Enbridge has wind farms, but it doesn't mention that Enbridge also had an oil spill that was a cubic mile and a half of an oil spill. They also have 17,000 miles of pipelines in the US, and thank you for the Dakota Access Pipeline. But nothing is actually more devastating for the environment than war. So tens of thousands of bombs dropped, almost all the sewage pumps destroyed in Gaza, hazardous chemicals leaking into the aquifer, and Israel is in direct violation of the Roman Statute of the International Criminal Court. But your policy says that you consider activities and exposure to depleting and reducing air quality, water quality, land protection, and usage. So therefore, I know that your environmental policy, the ESG, is moot. There is one policy that you do consider though, and that is the acts of war and terrorism, because clearly you have found a way to make a lot of money off of that. So instead of ripping up that sign, I would like to just shake some money bags because...
Thank you for your comment.
My name is Candace Youngblood, and I'm a high school art teacher. As the board, you have the power and moral responsibility to remove our pension money from the apartheid state of Israel, an entity that is committing mass slaughter and land theft of indigenous Palestinian people. Your inaction is deadly. You know what the right thing to do is. Everyone can see what's happening and knows what the right thing is. You have to overcome the fear. You may be afraid to do what is right, but because our investments, over 2,700 families in Gaza are completely decimated. Thousands of children are either orphaned, injured, or dead because of our systems continue to pour money into Israel and companies like Palantir. Genocide is profitable, and so it continues. You manage over $380 billion, and your investment managers make close to $250,000 a year. You are not helpless. You are decision makers with power. We call on you to direct your staff to begin divestment now.
That is the conclusion of public comments in person. We're now going to move to the phone. As a reminder, each of our public speakers is going to get 1 minute. So our first speaker on the phone is Ralph, followed by Edward. Ralph, go ahead.
Yes, I'm a CalSTRS member. When Thomas Edison announced the invention of the light bulb, he didn't really have a working light bulb. He had to work in the lab for a year to get a working light bulb. This story is legendary in Silicon Valley. For example, Elizabeth Holmes of Theranos didn't have a working blood test. She hoped she would have one before Theranos went broke. She was wrong. Elon Musk is wrong when he thinks he's going to have full self-driving in another 6 months. He's been announcing that for a year. He has the wrong sensor, just cameras only. He has limited processing power in his car. It's not going to work. Tesla is going to go bankrupt. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Our next speaker will be Edward, followed by Angel. Edward, go ahead.
Hello, Edward Hasbrook, CalSTRS beneficiary from San Francisco. When we first came in front of you a year ago to ask you to divest from Tesla, your first response was that your careful fiduciary assessment, including your expert staff, justified an investment in Tesla. We've since learned that that was entirely untrue, that your investment in Tesla was on autopilot as part of an index, and that neither the board nor your staff had ever conducted any individualized assessment of the valuation or risk of Tesla. In September, your counterparts at CalPERS recognized the need to study such a risky,
10 seconds.
overvalued investment and directed their staff to prepare an assessment of Tesla. We urge you to do likewise and fulfill your fiduciary duty. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Our next speaker will be Angel, followed by Chloe. Angel, go ahead.
Thank you, Chair and members of the board for protecting the retirement security of California's educators. My name is Angel Belden, and I've been a CalSTRS member for 16 years. I want to share with you my concerns about Valor Equity Partners. Last year, Valor CEO Antonio Gracias and 2 other high-level Valor employees left Valor temporarily to lead the DOJ Social Security team and the Immigration Task Force. The Department of Justice admits that DOJ employees improperly shared sensitive Social Security data, the personal data of over 300 million Americans, during the same time Valor employees were at DOJ. We need to know whether Gracias and other Valor staff were involved. If Valor was involved, how can we trust them? We want to know, is CalSTRS considering any new commitments to Valor funds? Was any Valor employee involved in DOJ's unauthorized sharing of our personal data? We appreciate a meeting to discuss these concerns with you further.
Thank you for your comment. Our next speaker will be Chloe, followed by Mary Jo.
Chloe Freeland, teacher, CalSTRS member. I'm calling from my English class today to talk to you about rhetoric. Here's how your stance against divestment from Israel measures up. You reject emotional appeals, even if they are rooted in your culpability for the slaughter of children. You are using our money to pay for weapons that have mutilated thousands upon thousands. Do you know how many little bodies I've seen torn to pieces? Have you not seen? Do you not care? Then you present flawed logic. You are passive investors who buy and sell Israeli bonds at will. You prioritize profits by losing money on Israeli bonds. You prioritize stability by investing so heavily in war you say you cannot divest safely. You prioritize sustainability by stealing life, limb, family, food, and shelter from innocent children. Finally, as a result of your apathy and deceit, you have completely destroyed your credibility. I do not trust you. I do not trust your judgment, your word, or your intentions. Why would anyone? After all, what's the point of having an ESG policy if you are not going to follow it? To give us a false sense of security while you throw our money at politicals.
Our next speaker will be Mary Jo, followed by Lisa.
Hi, I'm Mary Jo Walker. I'm a CalPERS retiree and a concerned taxpayer. I want to offer a few more reasons why Tesla should not belong in a public pension plan. Just last week, the New York Times reported that Elon Musk's AI chatbot, Grok, created and shared at least 1.8 million sexualized images of women in just 9 days. I know that Grok is not owned by Tesla, but they are both owned by Elon Musk. As mentioned a moment ago, the Department of Justice has finally admitted that a DOJ employee signed an agreement to share Social Security data with the aim of overturning election results in certain states. Wait, what? And the DOJ employee put an unknown amount of data on an unauthorized third-party server. Remember, those employees were handpicked by Elon Musk and managed by him. Why would you trust $2 billion of your members' money to this man? Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Our next speaker will be Lisa, followed by Chet.
Hi, I'm Lisa with the Bakery, Confectionery, Tobacco Workers, and Grain Millers International Union. In March 2025, Apollo added one of the largest baking companies in North America to its portfolio, Maker's Pride. This company makes products for some of the most iconic food companies in the world, Nabisco, Kellogg, Hershey, and General Mills. In London, Kentucky, over 600 employees have been trying to organize and join the BCTGM. During this campaign, over 70 charges were filed, including threats of deportation, intimidation, coercion, and surveillance, among many more. This brutal anti-union activity has continued under Apollo. We ask that CalSTRS consider this when making future investments and considering future investments with Apollo. And we ask that you adopt workforce principles. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Our next speaker will be Chet, followed by Talia.
My name is Chet Lexfold, and I'm the Executive Director for the San Mateo Community College Federation of Teachers, AFT Local 1493. Our 900 union members call on the CalSTRS Investment Committee to direct investment staff to immediately divest from genocidal investments in Palantir, Caterpillar, Lockheed Martin, Elbit Systems, and Israeli banks and bonds in accordance with the ESG investment policy and the investment restrictions policy. The power to take action lies with this board. There are many investment options that don't support Israel's genocide of the Palestinian people. Let's be clear, if you do not divest from these genocidal entities, you are actively choosing to support genocide with our pensions. Therefore, this really should be an easy decision. Invest in entities that aren't
10
engaging
seconds.
in genocide. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Our next speaker will be Talia, followed by Wendy.
Hello, everyone. My name is Talia Catania. I'm currently a CalSTRS member and a high school history teacher. It's important that my retirement accounts are not funding genocidal companies, which contribute to what's going on in Gaza and the West Bank. As a daughter of undocumented immigrants, it's important that we look at the connection between these companies, these genocidal companies, and the current attack on our immigrant community. Take, for example, Palantir. They're complicit. They have a long-standing relationship with ICE going back to 2011. Just last year, they got a $30 million contract to deliver Immigrant OS, an AI-powered platform designed to streamline the entire deportation process, which we know to be inhumane. And we're currently watching what's going on nationally and how they're ripping families apart. Investing in war, investing in genocide, and the mass deportation directly contradicts CalSTRS' commitment to state sustainability. CalSTRS must divest now. From Palestine to the border, it's
10
divestment now.
seconds.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you for your comment. Our next speaker will be Wendy, followed by Julie.
Good morning. My name is Wendy Greenfield. I'm a retired teacher of California Public Schools, where I taught for 35 years. I spent long hours prepping and teaching and did it all with love in my heart for the children under my care. Trustees, please act with love for children and their families and for the teachers who serve them. We don't want billions of dollars of our retirement funds invested in companies that enable apartheid and genocide in the West Bank and Gaza. We don't want our pensions to come at the expense of the lives of others. Divest from companies involved with genocide and invest in companies that uphold human life.
Thank you for your comment. Our next speaker will be Julie, followed by Robert.
Good morning. My name is Julissa. I'm with the National Union of Healthcare Workers. We represent around 19,000 service and technical healthcare workers, including hundreds across various kindred long-term acute care hospitals in Northern and Southern California, which are owned by Apollo Global Management. I just wanted to quickly speak to an active labor dispute our members have with Kindred right now, and essentially Apollo. Right now, over 300 members at Kindred Hospital in Brea and Kindred Hospital in Westminster are on strike over an unfair labor practice regarding the illegal surveillance of our members via both video and audio. Additionally, Apollo, through its subsidiary, Kindred, continues to propose wages that do not reflect local rates, much less keep up with the cost of living, keeping our members in the hole. Because of these reasons and the many reasons that other members of the public have expressed today, we strongly encourage the board to adopt protective, labor-conscious policies that will help make sure teachers' retirement contributions
Thank you for your
are not being
comment.
used to fund exploitation in their own state.
Our next speaker will be Robert, followed by Michael.
My name is Rob Taberzi, and I am a representative of LIUNA Local 79. I'm reading a statement on behalf of a worker, MG, who is employed by an unscrupulous body shop labor broker at Apollo Global Management's 5 Times Square redevelopment. I work as a laborer for Apex Labor Solutions. I am working on one of the biggest residential conversion projects in the city, 5 Times Square, but I'm only making $18 an hour. It's a struggle to afford food and housing. None of the laborers I know can afford the company's health insurance. I recently had a medical procedure and had to use public insurance. When I first got hired, I was reluctant to take the job because of the low pay, but I took the job anyway because I needed the money. I had been out of work for so long after coming home from incarceration. I've been working for Apex for 2 years with no raise. I know that we are doing the same work as other workers, but getting paid less.
10 seconds.
It's unfair. Workers at 5 Times Square and all Apollo investments deserve just wages and fair treatment. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Our next speaker will be Michael, followed by Serena.
Hello, my name is Michael Hoffman. I'm a math faculty at the at the San Mateo Community College District. I'm with CalSTRS Divest. Members of the board, I want to begin with something simple. Your ESG policy isn't supposed to be merely a decoration. It's supposed to guide investment decisions. It's supposed to mean something. Yet, when we finally met with your investment staff, every time you referenced the ESG standards you adopted, the response was a new contradiction. We pointed out that ESG policy requires evaluating conflict zone exposure, human rights risks, and geopolitical instability. Instead of sharing with us their analysis, staff insisted Israel bonds are, quote, not held, only, quote, flipped. But your own website shows otherwise. When we raised Moody's downgrade and their explicit warnings that prolonged conflict would push Israel bonds toward junk status, staff dismissed it as just one opinion. When we noted that every ratings agency has a negative long-term outlook, that too was brushed aside. Your ESG policy says material risks must be evaluated. Your staff acted as if those risks don't exist. So I'm asking you directly, why adopt?
Thank you for your comment. Our next speaker will be Serena, followed by Julie.
Samantha, how many speakers left?
Oh, we have 5 speakers left.
Thanks, Samantha.
Hi, my name is Serena. I'm speaking here today as a student and co-chair of Justice for Students in Palestine. I speak for all students fighting for our future when I say we urge you to not buy more Israeli bonds. Investing in Israeli bonds directly supports the Israeli government and military, the same institutions responsible for the ongoing genocide in Haifa and the ethnic cleansing of our Palestinian brothers and sisters. These bonds are not a neutral financial instrument. They are a political decision to fund war crimes and human rights violations, which only perpetuates the ongoing atrocities and kidnappings that we see happening in our very own communities. There are other investment options that offer the same rate of return with less financial and ethical risk. Those alternatives would allow our institutions to uphold their stated values of justice, equality, and global responsibility. Again, when we speak about a responsibility that you have to the future, it is our future you are making decisions about. As students who are taking on much of the responsibility that should be your job, we want our schools' investments to our commitment to human rights, not to bankroll apartheid or the suffering of innocent people. Please do not buy more Israeli bonds. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Our next speaker will be Julie, followed by Kevin.
Hi, my name is Julie Van Winkle, and I'm the Vice President of United Teachers Los Angeles, the largest local teachers union in California. In LA Unified, where we're currently in contract negotiations, our salary and staffing proposals are competing with a 65% increase in the district spending on contracts and services since 2019. Much of this increase is privatization designed to replace educators and school staff through multi-year contracts with private equity-backed companies making billions off public education. This hurts us and CalSTRS because privatization means fewer educators paying into the system. Our district has failed to meet staff requirements for minimum spending on classroom staffing for 4 years in a row, amounting to $3 billion in spending that should have gone to classroom teachers and instructional aides, and instead of outsourcing in ed tech. This means fewer teachers in our classrooms and fewer CalSTRS members. CalSTRS should take the growth of private equity in our schools very seriously. We have heard that CalSTRS is thinking about adopting a way to stop using private equity, and we support that. Thank you very much.
Our next speaker will be Kevin, followed by Kathleen.
Hello, my name is Kevin D'Amato. I am a teacher in the Los Angeles Unified School District in Boyle Heights, and I'm calling also as a member of CalSTRS Divest. We need CalSTRS to stop investing in Palantir. Palantir enables ICE to rip apart our community and their families. They've just abducted people yesterday. Palantir also enables the Israelis to continue the 80-year ethnic cleansing of Palestine and allows them to continue to lay out their apartheid structure. We need CalSTRS to make the right decision and divest from Palantir, Lockheed Martin, Caterpillar, Elbit Systems, and stop buying Israel bonds. Divest now.
Thank you for your comment. Our next speaker will be Kathleen, followed by Danny.
Hello, this is Kathleen Bolton-Schmuckler. I'm a teacher of the visually impaired and an orientation and mobility specialist in Contra Costa County. My retirement is wrapped up in CalSTRS. It's been, 18 years and counting. And I'm calling to request the board divest from Israeli bonds, Caterpillar, Elbit Systems, Palantir. My God, I didn't even know it was in Palantir. And pretty much anything that has to do with ICE and the destruction of our environment. Chevron, if it's there too, because we serve kids and our kids are the future. And I just feel like a real hypocrite right now, knowing that I go to work every day and this is where my retirement money is going. You know, y'all used to work with South Africa and you divested from South Africa. So I expect to have you use your financial expertise to find bonds and other things that are sustainable for the future and also make decent money. Y'all know what you're doing. Please use that information accordingly. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Our next speaker will be Danny.
Good morning. My name is Danny. I'm a United States Navy veteran, and I am an active member of Students for Justice in Palestine. I'm speaking today to demand that CalSTRS divest from genocide. In 1 minute, because apparently that's all the time you believe is appropriate to address mass death, I want to be clear. CalSTRS is invested in companies and Israeli government bonds that are directly complicit in apartheid, ethnic cleansing, and the killing of tens of thousands of Palestinians, including more than 20,000 children. The International Association of Genocide Scholars has confirmed that this is genocide. The International Court of Justice has ruled that Israel is guilty of apartheid, and yet CalSTRS continues to bankroll it. I serve this country, but I reject the military-industrial complex, especially when it profits from occupation, surveillance, and the slaughter of civilians. The ESG principles mean nothing if they collapse the moment they're inconvenient. This 1 minute limit is meant to silence accountability, but genocide doesn't become acceptable just because the clock runs out. Divest from genocide now.
Thank you for your comment. That is the conclusion of public comments over the phone and for item 2.
Thank you, Samantha. I want to thank the public for your comments in person, for taking the time to be here. I want to thank those that have called in. I want to thank you for meeting with our staff, and I want to thank you for doing so in a respectful manner. With that, we're going to take a short 5-minute break, and we'll come back with the CIO's report. Thank you. Scott, we're on to you. Item 3, the CIO's report.
All right. Good morning and Happy New Year. I think I can say that until the end of January. Karen and I agreed on that. So Happy New Year. When I think about the new year, what I was hoping and what the theme is for the investment committee is thinking about our goals, our plans, and our priorities for 2026. I like to wake up to New Year and think about that, and that helps me make sense of the world. So I'm going to spend some time here in the CIO open session outlining the 2 investment committee work plans and the investment branch's 3 strategic priorities. Then in the CIO closed session, we're going to talk about specific transactions and strategies that will serve as key examples of some of the plans and priorities and hopefully bring to life some of those elements. And then in the closed session TIS, or Tactical Investment Strategy segment, we're going to talk about managing portfolio risk through our stewardship priorities, as well as our annual asset allocation plan, and go into depth of where are we allocating our assets. Having said that, my CIO report has 3 sections, not only including the work plans and priorities. I'm going to spend some time putting a spotlight on our new CIS director, who has been announced to you all. Third, I'm going to preview the San Francisco office expansion, which I know many of you have visited, and I think you'll be eager to hear about that. And I have a surprise 4th element. I'll keep it a surprise. So let me, yeah, exactly. Series 1, episode 1. All right, so let me just introduce this by saying, while the economy and the financial markets continue to rise, this current bull market stands on less legs than I've seen in prior bull markets. And I like to coin, I think Sharon said this, it was apt, we're in a skinny bull market. This bull is skinny. And so what has been driving this has been the surge in AI investment, the strength of the high-end consumer, and internationally, defense spending has driven a lot of the international markets. But what we haven't seen traditionally is the low and the mid-level retail areas are weak. As we know, Manufacturing and housing have remained weak, but we've started to see some green shoots here. All of these can be swing factors, either positive or negative. But most importantly, and I think we all sense this in the environment, the very foundation of global markets are unstable, and we appear to be on the precipice of just unprecedented shifts over the next decade. We're increasingly operating in a multipolar world, and this transition is creating significant geopolitical instability as countries globally focus more and more on their own economies and their domestic objectives. Trading and political alliances seem poised to shift. So the global supply chain is being rewritten from globalization to deglobalization or nearshoring, and governments are increasingly getting more involved in business, which makes it a little bit more uncertain from our perspective. I should say a lot more uncertain, not a little. Deficits are driving higher interest rates and much greater variability in bond markets. We saw some of that in the JGBs, or the Japanese market recently. So all of this means that at any time, we could see extreme volatility in our portfolio in a market drawdown. And I think we saw some glimpses of that in the beginning of the last year with tariffs. And we're starting to see some of that glimpses again here with the moves in the Japanese JGBs, with some of the events around Greenland and so forth. And so the bottom line is that we operate and invest in a market that may experience this volatility. So how are we thinking about this? And so I want to just diagram some of the work plans and our priorities and how that might intersect with us being able to be more prepared. Our work plan on portfolio resilience, I think, really strikes to the heart of this, and it's precisely why we're studying portfolio resiliency. As you know, it's designed to assist us in mitigating the risks, as well as being able to take advantage of the opportunities of this market, stemming from the tectonic shifts that we're seeing arise. And so because of the extent and scope of these risks and opportunities, we've really broadened the scope of this work plan to include things like portfolio diversification. Are we too concentrated in the US, for example? Liquidity management. Do we have enough cash and liquidity to manage through a downturn, to rebalance and mitigate the risks? Industry network intelligence, how we can leverage our partners. Information integrity in the land of, as we're moving more into artificial intelligence, we talked about that yesterday. And even how we can align our partners and managers more and more with how they're operating, and particularly from a risk perspective, and so much of the portfolio companies that they manage as well. So it's holistic, and it's designed to meet, I think, the times and the changes today. But while it's important to prepare the portfolio to be resilient in light of these unprecedented changes, we also need to be focused on the long term and the vision for the organization. And that's where our shared vision, it's both an investment committee work plan and a strategic priority. And as you know, it's really going to culminate for us in a shared vision, a collective statement, but it's going to guide our organization in this evolution going forward intentionally. And what is it that we need to build toward, and what do we need to maintain in order to succeed in the future that's shifting and changing, as well as guiding our strategic priorities, goals, and milestones. So two of those significant areas we've already been starting to outline as part of the shared vision and building them. These are the strategic priorities around technology transformation. That's one of our strategic priorities. So with AI advancing, we're at the beginning of unprecedented transformation. We heard about that yesterday. I think Ashby gave you his version of the future of investment management. And this priority is not only being designed around how we plan to utilize this technology for CalSTRS' benefit for the investment team, but it's also being defined around how it impacts our portfolio, how we're allocating our investments, how it might be transforming our portfolio companies. And we'll talk more and more about that. I mean, one thing that's true is we look at the leaders, they change from decade to decade. There's going to be a new Mag 7, for example, built, and there's some companies that will undoubtedly may go to zero. So how can we manage those risks, but also take advantage of the growth? The other strategic priority that fits into the shared vision and some of the things that we're building, you know we're building a total fund management division, for example, is the one fund approach. And the major components of this, number one, are how can we dynamically allocate our capital and risk to the best returning opportunities? And a lot of this, I think about just shopping in our own backyard now. We've built a base of experts over the years, and they have insights, observable insights. Where can we lean into more and lean out of? And in an environment like this, becoming more dynamic around that is going to be a very important facet. Number two, it's really integrating and manage risk across the portfolio. And so if you think about, in this environment, as I discussed before, managing our liquidity is going to be very important, right? So we have ample liquidity to deal with a downturn, to rebalance the portfolio, to mitigate the risk during that time, and even to invest when there's such a discounts in the market. And I think another example that Michelle brought up in the pre-briefing was asking me to outline artificial intelligence. I'll spend some more time, more specifically in the closed session, talking about that. But with the rapid growth, what's our overall exposure? How, and do we have the best exposure? Now's perhaps the time to de-risk some of that because all boats are being lifted. How can we understand and mitigate the risks of these companies that are being transformed, some of which are going to benefit and some of which are going to be risks? And the third element is scale. This was something Michael Gunning was bringing up too during our pre-briefings, and we'll talk about more of that in the closed session where we'll talk about specific transactions. He wanted to talk about how that might relate to specific transactions. So let me just go to, I'm not sure if the presentation's up, but I'll bring the presentation up here. Just go to a couple slides forward, because I think it's important to think about how we have evolved over time. And so if you looked at this chart, we spent a lot of time thinking about, well, how could we display this? I'm not sure if we got it right, but you can see that our assets have grown almost fourfold in the last 25 years. So 100 billion to close to 400 billion today. And as Ashmi Monk was saying yesterday, we've been innovative in creating new models like the CalSTRS cloud model and moving more of our assets internally. You see today, roughly 65% of our assets by our estimation are within internal management. That's above the peer group. I think that was mentioned at roughly 50%. We also manage a more complex portfolio with 48% of our portfolio now diversified into private markets and alternative assets. So we built deep expertise, and the next evolution for us is really to start to integrate all of this together, this expertise. So the next stage for us is how can we create value more and more by integrating the staff, the ecosystem, our partners, to create more examples. And we'll provide examples of that. But we haven't grown more complex and diversified for the sake of doing that. We did it because we wanted to create more value for the teachers at the least amount of risk that we could to achieve the teachers' goals. And so if I look back here, I think this is a chart to really give credit to the board, the staff and consultants, and our partners over time, because we have indeed succeeded in creating that value through the evolution, right? We've improved our funding ratio, first and foremost. That's really important. We generated 8.1% returns above the 7% actual returns of the last decade that was needed. And we saved costs. We created value close to $22 billion above the reference portfolio benchmark. So when we set goals and metrics to unify the organization around, and if you recall, when we embarked on accelerating the collaborative model, we did that. We started to set what were some goals we could achieve and metrics that would unify not only the investment team, but the organization, our partners around how could we help to fund the retirement future of our teachers, right? And so as we think about these strategic priorities that I laid out today and continue to lay out, we're going to think about that again. What are the goals and metrics that we can unify everyone around? And that goal, the central piece of that is going to be, how can we succeed in funding the teacher's retirement? And so I see a continued need for this evolution, for these new strategic priorities. But it's all because what I want, and I think what you all want, and what we're unified around is that goal of funding the teacher's retirement. How can we do that in the best way possible? And these strategic priorities are designed to help us focus on that. And so we're going to be developing metrics around them. There's more to come. So with that being said, I'm going to just pause here briefly before moving on to the next section and putting the spotlight on Nick to see if there's any further questions or comments.
No one in the queue, Scott.
Okay, great. Well, let me put a warranted spotlight. Nick's already nervously smiling because nobody wants to be in the splash zone, which is right behind me. As you know, Nick was successful in competing and ultimately promoted to the Director of Sustainable Investment and Stewardship Strategies. So in this role, Nick's going to lead and oversee the CIS Global Private Asset Portfolio. Number two, the Stewardship and Strategic Relations team that drives value creation through voting proxies and engaging our portfolio companies and policymakers, et cetera. And the third, CalSTRS Net Zero Portfolio Mission Strategic Priority. So he'll have a lot on his plate. He succeeds Kirsty Jenkinson, who was, as you know, promoted to the Senior Investment Director of Private Markets and CIS. He tried to get rid of Kirsty, but because he'll be still reporting to Kirsty, I like to say that I can run from Kirsty, but I can't hide. And I think Nick might feel the same way. So Nick's been invaluable as a team member, and since joining us in 2020, he's built and managed this high-performing team with Kirsty and CIS. He has a track record of creating and driving complex strategies and deal structures, really advancing CalSTRS in the collaborative model as a partner of choice, ultimately building the private market portfolio and the CIS portfolio into over $4 billion during that time period. And as you know, prior to CalSTRS, Nick has been deeply gaining expertise in sustainable investment strategies across both public and private markets, overseeing proxy voting strategies and managing engagements with portfolio companies, key stakeholders, and board members. And so with that being said, I am very confident that Nick's leadership is going to continue to strengthen our investments branch and drive our strategic initiatives going forward. So please welcome Nick and give him a hand. All right, so that wasn't so bad, was it, Nick? Yeah. Okay, maybe not. All right. Well, let's move on to this is going to be I believe the consent agenda item going forward, but I wanted to give you a preview that we have determined it's time to expand the San Francisco office. And so
one second, Scott, I'm sorry to interrupt. I see that Mr. Ruffino locked in. Did you want to speak now, Mr. Ruffino?
Wait, Mr. Chair.
No, let's hear. Let's go ahead. It's your last day of public service. Go ahead, Frank.
Well, thank you.
You've earned it.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, and thank you, Scott, for your report. I always look forward to reading your report and the CEO report, but I like your report because it's really interesting to me. And by the way, I really enjoy your 10-year performance highlight slide. I'm a big collaborative model. I always make comment. That's something that I always look forward seeing. The return, just everything. Thank you. But you mentioned the one fund approach, and I want to quickly just ask you a quick question about that, because that's sort of like, I know, obviously, as you point out, the one fund approach emphasizes dynamic allocations, total fund risk management, and using scale deliberately. So we are seeing similar concepts emerge across large public funds, including, for example, TPA, the total portfolio approach, which recently we implemented and the board approved across the street, as you are aware. From your perspective, what are the most important lessons or guardrails that CalSTRS has learned in advancing a one fund mindset that other institutions, particularly those earlier in this evolution, should be mindful of?
Yeah, so let me just answer that question in saying how I think we might be different also from what's going on in TPA. We're very similar, I think, in the outcomes, but I think where we're different is how that might be implemented. And I would draw a couple of differences. One is that we have included this concept of scale in our ecosystem in the value creation that would come from a one fund approach. And so part of this is, and this is an example, I think, which will come through in some of the examples and transactions we talk more specifically about. But you can imagine that, because we're such a large organization, I'll pick on private credit. It's an area where 5 of the different divisions are focused on. And so if I think about the scale of those 5 different divisions, if we're able to coordinate it better, we're going to be able to leverage our partners better, right? And so I think that's going to be a differentiator for CalSTRS in the sense that we could create a lot more value by being able to coordinate that. I haven't seen that a lot in other approaches, and so that's one differentiator. The other differentiator is that we have a fair amount and a significant footprint in the private markets and the alternative assets. And so we're spending a lot more time in determining how to incorporate that into a one fund approach because, as you know, they're less liquid, right? And so I think a lot of TPA approaches, they focus on the liquid assets, and rightly so, because you can be more dynamic intuitively. But how do you incorporate the private market assets is something that I think is going to be unique and something that we're looking to differentiate ourselves as well. And the third element is, and I learned this through, at some point I was invited to speak at one of the major Canadian funds on our approach. In the spirit of learning, I've talked to them, swapping notes. And what I determined is that there's such a cultural aspect of getting all the teams to work and collaborate together. That's actually something I think we do extremely well here at CalSTRS. And I walked away thinking that these were some of the folks who originated these models, but they were having such difficulty getting the teams to coordinate, and they had very strong fiefdoms. So I went away thinking that, well, yes, this is not just a strategy, but it goes beyond that. It goes into, well, how do we build a stronger culture around collaboration and teamwork and things like that. And of course, you have to do all the regular things like align your incentives and et cetera, et cetera. But these things, I think, I just wanted to give you what might be different, because I think that's what you were asking versus what's the same, which I think is pretty apparent.
Got it. Thank you for that. If I could quickly do a follow-up. What role does board governance play in ensuring that this one fund approach remains disciplined, transparent, and aligned with our long-term obligations?
I think it's absolutely essential. And we've already been progressing, so I would point to board policies that we've already created to give us the flexibility to move into these directions, but also give you the monitoring and reporting around that. And so some of the things we've done were widen the asset allocation bands. We created a larger footprint for our opportunities portfolio. It used to be from 0 to 2.5%. Now it's from 0 to 5%. and the third being developing a formal leverage policy. And so just a quick example, we've been reporting to the board on a mid-monthly basis our statistics around leverage. And so having that governance and the built-in monitoring and reporting, having your consultants also be part of that, I think is a foundational step. We're going to move towards more advanced policy changes in governance, particularly as we march towards the asset liability study. And so this is, as you know, Frank, an ongoing endeavor. But we start with governance, and so that will be more to come on the next steps of governance for this one fund approach.
Excellent. Well, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ruffino. And if I may add, if Mr. Gunning chairs the governance committee, and given this is such an important endeavor, I would encourage Mr. Gunning to reach out and speak with Ms. McDuffie specifically around governance and the move towards a total fund approach, and any suggestions or recommendations around governance would be helpful and useful. And if we could make sure that's reflected in the minutes. Thanks. Back to you, Scott.
Great. Thanks for those questions. Great questions. So back to the San Francisco office, this will be a consent item in the next agenda. But I wanted to give you a preview that we plan to expand the San Francisco office to roughly 17,000 square feet. But let me back up. That's the punchline. But let me back up and just say that the opening this office has been a home run. It's been, I think, one of our competitive advantages. Why? Because we've been able to recruit a different set of people, a different pool than Sacramento, right? Just opening it up into another major city has really allowed us to recruit, a lot of talented folks. And so this has been a great move with the board. Really thankful for your support. We were worried, I think initially, is like, how are we going to imprint our culture into a new satellite office? That actually has turned out amazingly well, because they have a bit of a smaller office, and so they're all in one room. They're really drawing synergies. The closeness has helped them actually strategize even more towards this one fund approach, where they're collaborating just a lot more closely. So that's been great. But I think finally, one of the things we probably underestimated is the flow of information and the meetings that we're getting, the connectivity with partners. And now that San Francisco is, cornered by the AI native companies, we're seeing most of the newer software companies registering in San Francisco. So that's been nice too, just to be part of an information flow. So that's what I have in terms of San Francisco. We have 20 current staff that are housed in San Francisco today. We're expanding because we see the need to move that to 40. And that's why we're expanding the base of the square footage to 17,000 square feet. Any questions, comments, or?
Ms. Hendricks.
Here, it doesn't. Okay, there we go. Thanks for that, Scott. Can you just talk a little bit about recruitment and how you navigate kind of the Sacramento, San Francisco, the location piece, and just sort of how do we use San Francisco as a competitive advantage, but also obviously we want, if folks want to be in Sacramento, we'd love for them to be with the rest of the team. So can you just talk about the recruitment piece with San Francisco?
You know what? I might bring up
Case study?
Kirsty and or Margot, because they're deep.
I know Margot's
into
got
it.
I like saying pied a terre. Pied a terre. It'd just be helpful to understand, competitive advantage.
Good morning, Kirsty. Hi, Margot. Nice to see you both.
Thanks.
Great. Hi, Kirsty Jenkinson, the Senior Director of Private Markets and CIS. Happy to, and Margot, introduce yourself.
Margot Worth, Director of Private Equity.
Happy to kick it off in terms of, we obviously have to think about the broadest pool of talent that we want to recruit from. I think there are many people who are able to be based out of San Francisco, would not be able to be working in Sacramento. And so I think when we're building our strategy and we're looking about being able to recruit the people that we need for the skill sets that we need and the growth that we need, in the complexity of our investments, being able to have a broader talent pool has just proved really, really valuable. I will say that the thing that has really worked the best is these teams are still really integrated into what happens with Sacramento. We're very intentional in how we manage that integration. You know, the teams reciprocate visits between the offices. They're highly connected through technology and other areas. And they are often like non-San Francisco team members will go to San Francisco because it gives us access to partners, to the senior executives that we're meeting from companies. So having that additional hub not only allows us to do better investment activities, which is obviously appealing to staff who are trying to create the best opportunities and have the best access, but it hasn't shown us that there's any downside in terms of integration and the strength of the teams. The two teams that are there right now are private equity and CIS, and I haven't seen any degradation in kind of like the combined sort of sense of the San Francisco and the Sacramento teams. It's been a delight and a joy to see.
I would just add, to keep us integrated, about a third of our team is in San Francisco now. Disproportionately, a lot of the more senior people in private equity are there. But every Thursday, the senior team, the handful of PMs and myself are in Sacramento on a regular basis to do meetings. And it's really fun to see the other way, because a lot of the junior staff and senior staff in Sacramento come into the city and just get swept up in the vitality and excitement of being in San Francisco, which is the business area. I don't know, probably some people wouldn't say booming, but it's really an exciting place to be right now.
Yeah,
it's really exciting, and the VC, which is in the broader city, is there, and so it's really been fantastic.
I think it's a curious test case. I think I'm really fascinated and glad to obviously hear that your sense is it really adds value, because I think you see a lot of organizations wrestling with this either, hybrid model or satellite offices, and just, the challenge of maintaining culture. And it sounds like you're saying that has been able to be maintained and perhaps enhanced by having these two different locations.
Absolutely. Sorry, I didn't mean to.
No, you go ahead.
I was just going to say, obviously what I worry about as a sort of a leader here is continually being able to recruit the talent that we need and to retain the talent that we need. That is a competitive market, and having this is a benefit, but I constantly worry about retention and recruitment, because we need to keep being able to sort of invest in our staff.
That's super top of mind for us as well, and I just want us to be sensitive to time, because we do have extensive closed session today. So I think the point is well taken. No, Sharon, finish your thoughts. I just wanted to.
It's not a big deal. I'm just curious, are there, Margot, Nick, are you there too in San Francisco? Oh, no, you're here. Okay. So if it's CIS and private equity, is it just, how does that work? Margot, obviously you love San Francisco, but is it some staff of CIS and some staff of private equity, or higher level staff?
We're about a third. Now, it turns out 5 of the 7 most senior people on the team live in the Bay Area. So we are kind of top heavy there.
Got it.
But because of that, we really try to redouble our efforts to make sure the senior staff is here and really make the staff in Sacramento feel like, they have a second home there. And some of them love it. Some of them are coming down, on a regular basis. And, some come less frequently. And we had our offsite there. We had a 2-day offsite this summer, which was just great to have the whole city. And one of our portfolio managers hosted the whole team at his house. And
great, thank you, Mr. Rufino.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just real quick, I want to add a comment, because I was at a meeting in San Francisco, and I asked to visit, that office, and I got a chance to interact with the staff. I loved the visit. I loved the energy. I loved the reaction. I didn't feel at all that there was any disconnect. In fact, I thought it was totally connected, totally intense. So definitely value. And I can tell you a little secret. There's other folks who are very jealous that we have that building, that we have that office space up there. That's it.
Thank you, Frank. Well said.
Okay, thank you.
Is that your other favorite child? You have two, right? No?
Scott, anything else?
One thing I did want to mention here too is while we were opening it, Jeff and his team, they came up and part of this is going to be an outlet for member services too, just so you know, because it's a strategic location and nicely situated. So it's going to help not only investments, but other parts of the organization. I do have the mystery topic in the spirit of the cliffhanger for Netflix. So that fourth item that was added was, I'm thrilled to announce that for the 11th time, CalSTRS has been named one of the best places to work in money management by Pension and Investments magazine. So we're very, very honored to receive this award again. And I think it's a testament to the team's commitment to protect, again, more than 1 million teachers and their beneficiaries and secure their retirement. So thank you to P&I for the recognition and congratulations to our amazing staff.
Thanks, Scott. Great accomplishment. Item 4 is the approval of the minutes, which is an action item. It's moved, properly seconded. Second. Okay. Any questions, comments? Do we need a roll call or just it's a consent?
It's just a consent, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Item 5. The private equity consultant request for proposal. I hope everyone had an opportunity to look at the write-up. Any questions on that? Okay, great. Thank you. Any public comments on item 4 or 5?
Oh, we do have public comment for item 5.
Yes, please.
If we could get a 3-minute timer, please. Our speaker will be Doug.
Welcome, Doug.
Hello again. Doug Orr. This time I am talking for an organization. Now I'm talking for CFT. It was my understanding that the Teachers Retirement Board had asked investment staff to develop a set of labor and ESG standards for private equity managers to be presented to the board in November of 2025 meeting. In public markets, CalSTRS staff has done an impressive job attempting to hold companies accountable to CalSTRS ESG standards, and they're able to demonstrate to members their success in this area. I believe CalSTRS could also be a leader in holding private equity managers accountable, but to do that, you need to have a clear set of standards that are clearly articulated. Having these principles in place would, I would think, create 3 positive impacts for CalSTRS. First, it might aid in the selecting of the private equity advisory firm that this agenda item addresses. Second, it would more clearly demonstrate to stakeholders that CalSTRS is taking bad actor private equity managers seriously. Being able to let members know that CalSTRS cares about these issues could help to diffuse some of the anger that always shows up at these meetings. And third, if private equity managers agree to these principles and then violate those, it would give CalSTRS an exit mechanism to get out of undesirable limited partnership agreements. So the CFT urges CalSTRS to finish the process of developing these standards, and as always, we, the CFT, are willing to help participate in the development of these standards in any way we can. Thank you.
Thank you, Doug. Any other public comments?
That's the conclusion of public comment for item 5.
Okay, thank you. Item 6 is the CalSTRS Priorities Annual Update Report, which is informational, and it will be also, we're going to be addressing that in closed session. Anybody have questions for open session? Okay. Mr. Ruffino.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just real quick, I wanted to ask the team about, what's going on right now in that space. We all know the external environment for stewardship and stakeholders' rights is clearly shifting. That's not big news. We'd read a lot about that, especially around proxy voting, arbitration, etc. How is staff adopting its stewardship toolkit to remain an effective long-term investor advocate while protecting the fund's influence and credibility?
Aisha and Lynn are approaching, and in preparation for this item, I know they're going to be speaking in specificity with some specific examples in closed session, and I think they can answer your question at the right level here in open session, please.
Yes, definitely. Hi, Frank. Thank you so much for that question. So we are going to talk more detailed strategy in the closed session. So I think I can more thoroughly answer your question in closed session, just because we're going to be talking more about where we've had success with specific companies, but also the strategies that we're going to be undertaking as we continue to operate in a unique environment.
Understood.
Lynn, anything that you wanted to add?
Oh, Lynn Paquin, CalSTRS team. So appreciate the question. And in that open session item, we do have a list of all the different things that have happened over the past year regarding shareholder rights. And so this has been an interesting time. And luckily, we don't think that anything will dramatically impact this 2026 proxy season. But as Aisha said, we have a lot more to share with you in the closed session.
So much. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Lynn. Thank you, Aisha. We'll see you shortly in closed. Item 7 is the information request. Did we have any? Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Juarez.
My questioners or nears are leaving. I'm just, and hopefully this will be quick, but what is, as you approach sort of how we deal with public companies, is there an overlap with what we do with when we're with private investments? Are the same principles being applied in both places?
So I think the best way to answer that, Steve, is that we have a different set of tools for influence when it comes to the private markets. And the closed session item does focus mostly on our public company engagements. And you'll see, we just have a different set of tools that we can use. Whereas in the private markets, a lot of times it's that relationship with the general partner.
And thank you, Mr. Juarez. On Steve's point, I do think that's something that we should circle relative to our engagement strategy, given the exposure we do have to private markets today and going forward. And that's something we should be thinking about, giving the committee some visibility into relative to our risk oversight responsibilities. So I think you highlight a good point, Steve, and we can work with the team and figure out what's the best path forward to look at that.
I hope with our selection of the next private equity consultant that they take note of sort of avid interest in how we deal with private companies. And so I assume that'll be part of the selection.
I think that's a terrific suggestion, because the important role that they can play in terms of making recommendations and suggestions to us as they're the advisors to this committee on private markets. So I think it's a terrific point.
And Steve and Harry, this is a component of the portfolio resiliency plan.
Right.
And so when we discuss it, you know, it has its place, but I think we're talking about what do you want in that item when we discuss it. So we'll circle up on that.
Yeah, great.
Thank you.
Thanks. Thank you. Any information requests?
No, there were none.
Okay, thank you, sir. The draft agenda for the next meeting, Scott, anything you want to highlight other than, you know, I want to point out that is the semi-annual reports, and that's the opportunity for us to spend time with our consultants. And we continue to think about how we can improve our oversight role and monitor this very large and complex portfolio. Scott?
I almost hate saying this, but we got a lot of kudos for the slim board packet in January. I think it's going to be rather thick in March, and that's one more. There's going to be a packed agenda. I'll go through it in the big three, but as you know, part of this was we were dealing with a number of transitions, a couple of the senior team retirements and departures, so that slowed us down a little bit in January, but we're picking it back up in March. So I just want to fair warning that it's going to be thick.
Great. Thanks, Scott. So with that, we'll take a short, let's see how we're doing with the time. We're on time, so we're going to take a 15-minute break. We'll come back at 10:55. Yep, it's in the agenda, 15 minutes. Thank you. Would you like more time, Sharon? Less?
Less time, but that's okay.
Yeah, 15 minutes will be good. Thank you.